Welcome to Tuesday, August 2nd Select Board meeting. If you'd please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call the meeting to order, and the first will be a public hearing for Lucioso's Pub, an extension of hours to 1 a.m., early Sunday sales, 10 a.m., comprehensive entertainment, group 1, 2, and 3, radio, TV, live dance, and a common victualer's license. We now open this public hearing. Is there anyone who'd like to speak on behalf of Lucioso's?
My name is Brendan Gillis. We're taking over the liquor license. We plan on keeping it pretty much the exact same business that's been running now. There's no changes. We still have our GM in place, our other two managers. We plan on keeping it exactly the same as it's been running for the last 10 years.
Great. Is there anyone else that would like to speak in favor? Anyone online, Anthony? Anyone in opposition? I'll bring it back to the board.
I'll make a motion that we approve the transfer.
Oh,
Is that discussion?
discussion.
I'm sorry, Charlie. I just wanted to, when the prior, I guess, individuals in charge had come before the board years ago, I just wanted, you're kind of you're at the bottom of a you're below and adjacent to a densely populated residential neighborhood, and I know this is transitioning to a new entity, but I just wanted to share the prior board's concerns with respect to the comprehensive entertainment license, and just want to make sure that obviously nothing gets out of control down there. We're considerate of our neighbors, especially with respect to the level of noise and volume.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, absolutely.
So,
nothing's going to change in that respect. I mean, there's not even room to do outside entertainment, so everything that's been done has been inside, and we keep the noise levels at a relatively low level. It's always either an acoustic duo or a single. There's never any really live bands or percussion.
So it's not like live bands and percussion with open windows blaring out through the neighborhood?
None of that.
Okay, all right, thank you.
No problem.
We have a motion.
Motion, yes.
Is there discussion? All those in favor? It's unanimous. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Have a good afternoon.
The second public hearing is for Bark Barbecue. And in accordance with Chapter 138 of the Mass General Laws as amended, notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held at the Town of Plymouth, 26 Court Street on August 2nd at 6:05 p.m. to consider the application for a new annual wine and malt restaurant license from Bark Barbecue Incorporated, DBA Bark Barbecue, 367 Court Street, number 3, Janice Steinberg, manager. Description of premises is as follows: single-story open floor plan with private back of the house area for kitchen prep, storage, and cleaning, 3 entrances, 3 exits. Is there anyone that would like to speak on behalf of Bark Barbecue?
Hi, I'm Janice Steinberg, the owner and manager.
Hi,
We're just
Janice.
trying to increase some of the business and have had a lot of requests to have a nice cold beer with barbecue, so that's why I'm here.
Great. Any questions?
Yeah, Janice, I have a question. How many seats do you have there?
32.
Okay. Any outdoor or?
Nope.
So indoor, okay. I've heard great things.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
you're doing a great job there.
Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak in favor of Bark Barbecue?
Thank you.
Anyone online? Anyone in opposition? We'll bring it back to the board for a motion.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
The next public hearing is for aquaculture license requests from Kyle Marble and William Doyle. Go ahead, our harbor master, Chad Hunter.
Good evening.
Good
Thank
evening.
you. So you have two upweller license requests before you tonight. This is part of, we signed an MOA with Marine Fisheries to allow upwellers within prohibited waters. The DMF put some requirements on the upwellers, and one of those requirements is to have the upwellers licensed, very similar to the grow-out sites that they have. So this is the process. There'll be more to follow. And we'll probably look at regulations. The aquaculture regulations that we currently have were designed to handle the license requests, but not necessarily for upwellers. So we'll take a look at those and make sure it kind of streamlines the process for the upwellers versus a licensed site. So we'll be working with Harbor Committee on that. But tonight, Megan and Kyle Marble are here, and also Connor Doyle right behind me here, if you have any questions about the individual operations.
Well, I know that this is something that the Harbor Committee unanimously supported, and I have no questions. I'm the liaison for the Harbor Committee, great group of people doing wonderful things with our harbor, along with our harbor master and Department of Marine and Environmental. So is there anyone that wants to speak in favor?
Just have one question. Connor Doyle, Bill's son. He asked if the upweller license could run concurrently with his aquaculture license, so that his current term is November 1st, 2019 to October 31st, 2029. He was just wondering if the dates could run concurrently, so the renewal process would be streamlined for everybody involved. It's just a question that he had.
Okay. Do you, Chad?
So that actually brings up a great question that I think we have to have some discussion on. In most cases, these upwellers are supported by mooring permits, which are annual permits. So ideally, we were going to license these annually. When I mentioned streamlining the process, I think we don't want to require the same amount of scrutiny as a 10-year license site for the upwellers, because they are very short-term. So I think, I'm not sure what they were looking for on the license itself, but we ideally would have these annually. But again, that's a discussion that we have to have moving forward.
Is that something that, we can approve his upweller license and then maybe bring it back to the Harbor Committee, because I know we have a meeting tomorrow?
Sure, yep. This could be a discussion that we could have. In some cases, upwellers are in marinas as well, and that's going to be more of an annual agreement where somebody would essentially buy a slip for the year. So we obviously don't want to scare off the marinas by saying, oh, actually, they're going to have a 10-year license in your marina. So I think we have some things to kind of work out on the length of the license.
Except if you have an upweller, you should have an oyster farm to go along with it.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, so. I don't think the board would have a problem approving the upweller and then have you come back to the board maybe the 16th, August 16th? Is that the next meeting?
Yes.
And hopefully have everything put together by then, if you think that's enough time.
I'm not sure if it made it to the Harbor Committee's agenda. We can obviously get the discussion started. It might take another meeting, maybe September, to come up with something to bring back to the board, I would say.
Okay, so we can give them their year now and then bring it back to the board. Does the
Correct.
board have any issue with that?
Nope.
Nope. Okay, everyone, nobody speaking for or against? Neither on, okay, so bring it back to the board. Motion?
I motion for the granting of these aquaculture license to Kyle Marble and William Doyle.
Discussion? And that will be, it gives them the upweller for a year, and then you guys come back to us and we'll figure out the rest of the details. Is that okay, Connor? And you guys too. Great, thank you. Okay, the next aquaculture, oh. We're going to vote now. All those in favor? It's unanimous. Congratulations. The next aquaculture license transfer for John Reynolds.
So this transfer is part of, the previous owner of this site had quite a extensive storm damage and kind of a change in career path. So this transfer to Mr. Reynolds, I've been in discussion with both Jim and his son for months about, this transfer. And essentially, it's taking a site that's not being used and turning it over to somebody that will proceed. So
Perfect.
I would recommend this transfer.
Great. Is there anyone speak? Quick question, Chad, from Mr. Mahoney.
So, Chad, is there a formal process with respect to, so the transfer, you get to pick, you get to negotiate? If you currently have it, you get to go out and choose, if you can set up that arrangement and choose, or is there a formal process where the next person on the list waiting for one of these licenses goes? How does that work? I can't recall.
Yeah.
I know years ago we had this discussion.
That's a great question. It's come up during some of the initial transfer requests that we had. The question as to how the list and the fact that these are Commonwealth tidelands and somebody has a license to them, how that works. In this case, the regulations were quite clear on the list. It's either new sites, sites that are revoked by the town and brought back and then turned back to somebody on the list. But under state law and under our aquaculture regulations, the licensee has the ability to request a transfer. So whether they're on the list or not, they're able to negotiate, if they have seed on the site. Sometimes it's branding. The brand name is worth some money. Also boats and equipment that they may be purchasing as well. So they're able to work out a deal with somebody to essentially buy that, and they would come back to the board to request that transfer.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, so we bring it back to the board. Is there a motion?
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Next is our badge pinning ceremony from the Plymouth Fire Department. And I have to say that this is my very first badge pinning, not only as chairman, but as a selectman. And we have so much respect for what you guys do and are just so proud to be part of this. So I'm very excited to be part of it, and I appreciate all the hard work that you guys do. Mr. Foley, Chief Foley, I'm sorry.
That's all right, Madam Chair, thank you. Thank you for having us here tonight as we recognize these individuals for their achievement. We have 3 members of our department that are getting promoted. 2 firefighters promoted to lieutenant, 1 lieutenant to the rank of fire captain. Fire department promotions are certainly a time to celebrate. It took a lot of hard work and dedication to get to this point in their careers, and this is certainly a moment that should be remembered and honored in front of all of you. I think a lot of people understand that this is no easy task. It isn't easy to go through the countless books, the seemingly endless hours of studying, and the dedication to their craft and learning and understanding and learning from their senior fire officers, the senior members of the department, and understanding the standard operating procedures that we have in place so that we can provide the best service we can to the town of Plymouth. All of you have shown your willingness to put in that hard work, needing to prepare yourself for the next levels in your career. But let's be honest, they can't do that alone. They need the support of their families who are with them tonight to participate in this badge pinning ceremony, and I just want to give them a round of applause for supporting those members of their peers. Especially now with the ever-changing roles of today's fire service, our fire officers are challenged with so many different responsibilities. I hope that you all continue your education and training with the same dedication that got you to this moment today. And I'd like to have you come up and be recognized. If they could be joined with their, I believe it's all their wives are going to be pinning them tonight.
Anthony. Anthony.
All right. And our town clerk. I'm going to read each individual's bio while their wife is pinning them, and then our town clerk is going to swear them in one by one. Lieutenant Fair, being promoted from firefighter to lieutenant, is a graduate of Brockton High School. He served in the United States Marine Corps Reserves, and then as a combat medic, and with the United States Army National Guard. He went to work in the construction trade and in the Sheriff's Department prior to being appointed to the Plymouth Fire Department in November 12th, 2013. He has been assigned as a fire alarm operator and served in that role from 2017 to 2019. Lieutenant Fair has earned his firefighter 1 and 2, hazardous materials first responder, and operational level certifications. Lieutenant Fair is assigned to Group 3 at Station 1 headquarters. His achievement today has been made possible with the support of his wife, Jennifer, his sons, Liam and Kevin. Do you want the microphone?
Lieutenant, could you, yeah. Repeat after me. I, Jason Fair, do solemnly swear and affirm that I will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all the duties incumbent upon me as a lieutenant for the fire department for the town of Plymouth, according to the rules and regulations and the Constitution of the United States and the laws of the Commonwealth. So help me God. I promise to impart to my profession standards of quality and integrity, so that the conduct of the affairs of the department shall be above reproach, of the department shall be above reproach, and merit public confidence in the department. In the department. So help you God. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Lieutenant. Moving on down the line is Lieutenant Santino, a graduate of Plymouth South High School, served in the United States Army 82nd Airborne Division, and then completed nursing school working in the medical field before being appointed to the Plymouth Fire Department November 16th, 2015. Lieutenant Santino has earned his firefighter 1 and 2, hazardous material first responder, operational level certifications. Lieutenant Santino is assigned to Group 2, Station 1, headquarters. His achievements have been made possible with the support of his wife, Kim, and children, Caitlin, Cameron, and Kayla.
So I've had practice, now it's your turn. Raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I, Cal Santino, do solemnly swear and affirm that I will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all the duties incumbent upon me as a lieutenant of the fire department for the town of Plymouth, according to the best of my abilities and understanding, agreeably to the rules and regulations of the Constitution and the laws of the Commonwealth, so help me God. I promise to impart my professional standards of quality and integrity so that the conduct of the affairs of the department shall be above reproach and merit public confidence in the department. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Lieutenant. Captain Soul is a graduate of Plymouth South High School and worked as an EMT prior to being appointed to the Plymouth Fire Department December 27, 2010. He was assigned as a fire alarm operator from 2016 to 2018 and was promoted to lieutenant in 2020. Captain Soul has earned firefighter 1 and 2, hazardous materials first responder operational level, and is a founding member and director of the Plymouth Fire Department Relief Association and the co-chair of Local 1768, the Health and Welfare Committee. Captain Soul is assigned to Group 1 at Station 1 headquarters. His achievement has been made possible by the support of his wife, Michaela, his son, JJ, and his daughter, Rylan.
Raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I, Joshua Soul, do solemnly swear and affirm that I will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all the duties incumbent upon me as a captain of the fire department for the town of Plymouth, according to the best of my abilities and understanding, agreeably to the rules and regulations of the Constitution and the laws of the Commonwealth, so help me God. I promise to impart to my professional standards of quality and integrity so that the conduct of the affairs of the department shall be above reproach and merit public confidence in the department. Congratulations.
Right, always do. I just want to say, thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight and to recognize these fine individuals on their achievement. I look forward to seeing what they do in the next step in their careers, and I have a full confidence that they will be able to perform at the level that is required of them with the Plymouth Fire Department. And if you don't mind, if we could just have a quick moment so they could take some pictures with their families,
Absolutely.
I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Carl?
Welcome back, everyone. We just had a little brief recess so our newly appointed lieutenants and captains could take a few photo ops with their families. So now let's get back to our regular business. The next item on the agenda is the Green Communities designation. Do we have someone?
Madam Chair, we are adding them to become panelists so they are able to speak.
Okay, great, thank you. And we have Mr. Patrick Farah, and I can't see another name, but then again, I can't see much.
No, you can't see her name.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone. For the record, I take it everyone can hear me, correct?
Yes.
Excellent. So for the record, my name is Patrick Farah. I'm one of the planning staff, as well as the energy officer for the town of Plymouth. And I must say that this is quite a milestone coming before you tonight. It has taken literally years to get to this point. And I am going to yield to our town's Energy Committee Chairman, Holly States, who will go ahead and conduct a brief presentation of where Plymouth is currently within the Green Communities designation process. So without further ado, Holly, please.
Good evening, everyone. I just want to extend my congratulations to the firefighters that were honored tonight. You are a tough act to follow, but we will do our best. Anthony, would you allow me to share my screen?
You should be able to.
Okay. So as Patrick said, this has been a years-long process for the Energy Committee and the town of Plymouth, and we really appreciate the opportunity to present to you tonight. This is the last step in our quest to become a green community. I want to start just by briefly talking about the Green Communities Designation and Grant Program. It was launched in 2010, and it provides assistance to cities and towns to reduce their energy use and to help meet the state's climate goals. It is not funded through taxes. That's a question that we've received before. It's funded through something called the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative, which is a collaboration among 11 Northeast states to reduce carbon emissions from power plants. Since its launch, 286 Massachusetts cities and towns have become green communities. This represents 81% of all cities and towns in the state. In July of this year, there were 6 more designees. Many are in fact, all of them are in the southeastern region of the state. And since its inception, the program has awarded more than $152 million in grants. And Plymouth has been missing out on these opportunities. These are some of the grant funds that our neighbors have received. Of note is Kingston, which joined the designation in 2010 and has received over $1.1 million in grant funds. Why become a green community? Well, first of all, we'll get a designation grant of $267,000 approximately just by becoming designated. And then once designated, the town will become eligible to apply for competitive grants, annually up to $200,000 per applicant. So there are a lot of financial reasons to become a green community. But in addition to those, becoming a green community will help support Plymouth's carbon and energy reduction efforts. This board has already taken a leadership role in addressing climate change, notably by declaring a climate emergency, forming the Climate Action Net Zero Committee, and hiring a sustainability planner. Becoming a green community is one more step in this effort. It will also, as noted, which was the purpose of the program, support the Massachusetts carbon reduction goals. And as a town in this state, it's incumbent upon Plymouth to help the state achieve these goals. Finally, and I'll talk about this more in a minute, it will enable the town to do real live monitoring and tracking of municipal and school energy use. Just as a reminder, there are 5 qualification criteria for becoming a green community. Plymouth has already achieved 4 of them. The last is to adopt this energy reduction plan. The purpose of the plan is to calculate an energy use baseline, and then to provide realistic pathways to reduce energy use 20% over 5 years. The plan development involves several steps. First was an energy audit by Horizon Solutions, and then there was data gathering by Old Colony Planning Council and town and school staff. And I want to say that town and school staff were very, very helpful in this process, and it was a bit complicated. Old Colony Planning Council has also drafted the plan, and it has done this work for us under a technical assistance grant, which the town applied for a couple of years ago. The next step was to review the plan, and our energy officer and the energy committee did this and did request a few changes. And now we're at the final step, which is adoption of the plan by the select board and the school superintendent. The baseline calculation included an audit of all municipal and school buildings. So this was 43 buildings in total. Municipal and school vehicles, which was 255 vehicles, street and traffic lights, 21 water and wastewater facilities, and 10 open space sites. So it was a big project, and it was complex. What the findings were is that shown on this graph here, and I realized as I was preparing for tonight that I didn't actually put the total of our energy use. So it's 50,577,074 kilowatt hours. And it's measured on the plan, it's measured in MMBTU, but the conversion, which Patrick did, is in kilowatt hours. As you can see from this chart, 69% of our energy use is buildings, which was not surprising. And the next biggest user is vehicles at 18%, and water and sewer was 10% of our use. Now, if you look at the plan, you can see that it recommends several different strategies, and I'm not going to go over this list now, but I just want you to know that there are lots of different strategies and projects that the town can pursue in trying to achieve this goal. And one thing I did want to mention too, in the process for becoming a green community and gathering that data, Plymouth will be able to monitor energy use in real time by using the state's Mass Energy Insight. It's an online tool, it's free, and Old Colony Planning Council uploaded all of our data, which we found in doing this process is dispersed among several different departments. So now we have an online tool that we can use to monitor energy use, to track it, and to spot anomalies and try to address them. The DOER has stressed to us, and we want to stress to you as well, that the energy reduction plan is just that. It's a plan. It's not a directive. It provides the community with a realistic pathway to achieving quantifiable energy reductions through concrete project suggestions. But even though it recommends a sequence and a priority for projects, Plymouth can choose different projects or a different sequence of projects to achieve these reductions. As long as the facilities are involved are part of the energy audit and part of the 2020 energy baseline, they can be eligible for grant funding. Those identified in the plan and prioritized have the largest energy reduction impact, but the school and town do not have to stick with those. And more importantly, the DOER has stressed that there is no penalty for not pursuing the projects suggested or in the order suggested, or for not achieving the 20% reduction target in 5 years. The Green Communities Program is not a punitive program. It is meant to provide incentives and guidance. If a town does not achieve the goal, the DOR will work with us to try to advise us on additional steps to take. Again, I want to stress there are no penalties no fees, and no forfeiture or repayment of grant funds for not achieving the goal within 5 years. Finally, we just want to thank you for the opportunity to present tonight and for your already demonstrated climate leadership. We hope that you will vote to adopt this plan and to ensure that Plymouth can actually achieve the goal of becoming a green community. And we're happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? And is it that you folks want a recommendation, or was this just basically a little bit of information for everyone?
No, what we seek, and I'm sorry if I didn't clarify that, what we seek is a vote to adopt the plan.
Okay.
And there is a letter.
There is a letter that Anthony has a letter on letterhead that needs to be signed by the chair of the select board.
I have it
So
right
what
here.
we do need is a vote for adoption and also the letter to confirm the adoption.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
Yes. But,
Mo-
yeah, I'll make the motion. I think it's a good plan.
Do we have a second?
Yes, sir.
And discussion? All those in favor? It's unanimous. Congratulations, and I'll sign that letter tonight.
Great, thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Thank you very much. Good night.
Good night. Now, next, we have our Plymouth 400 Legacy Postal Project, and I'm assuming that this gentleman dressed as a turkey might have something to do with it. Good evening.
Have to push the button, thank you. Yeah, my name is George McKay, and I spent 10 years as a board member planning the events we were supposed to have in 2020, which was the 400th anniversary of the landing of the Mayflower. And a lot of that went up in smoke, as you know, unfortunately, but we did accomplish a few things, and we're still in the process of doing 3 legacy projects. The first legacy project that I started working on shortly after 2020 was the remailing legacy project. Let me see if I can go back here. Can we go back? Anyway, the first slide was just an introductory slide talking about the background. We started a program in 2021 called the Remailing Project, and I gave a presentation about a year ago to the board. And a remailing project, for those that are not familiar with it, is very simple. It's you write a letter or write out a card related to one of the holidays, like Christmas, or New Year's, or Valentine's Day, or something like that. But instead of sticking it in the local mailbox, you send it to a place whose name is affiliated with that holiday. For example, Santa Claus, Indiana, has the largest remailing program in the United States. And they ask people to send their Christmas cards to Santa Claus, Indiana, in bulk. Santa Claus, Indiana takes the Christmas cards out of the package, and they put a special postmark on it, saying that this Christmas card is from Santa Claus, Indiana. The second largest remailing program is done by a town called Loveland, Colorado. And what Loveland, Colorado does is they solicit people's Valentine's Day cards, and they package them up, they send them to Loveland, Colorado. Loveland, Colorado opens the package, and they take every single one of your greeting cards and put a special cancellation on it. It says, this Valentine's Day card is from Loveland, Colorado. So a year ago, I was here in front of the board introducing a Thanksgiving remailing program from Plymouth, Massachusetts, the site of the first Thanksgiving. And our objective was to have a program similar to what Santa Claus, Indiana has and Loveland, Colorado has, based on people mailing Thanksgiving cards to their friends, neighbors, and relatives. And so we started this program. It was brand new. To give you some idea of what other people are doing, Santa Claus, Indiana remails about 200,000 cards a year. Loveland, Colorado mails about 160,000 cards a year. And we started from scratch in hopes that we could start a progression of that kind of thing for Plymouth, Massachusetts, the site of the first Thanksgiving. One of the slides I wanted to show you tonight, but I can talk about it. People say, well, I don't mail greeting cards anymore. But statistically, the number of greeting cards that are sold every year are 1.7 billion greeting cards. In fact, that's the slide I wanted to show. Of those 1.7 billion greeting cards, 1.3 billion are Christmas cards. And of those, almost a billion are mailed. And of those, 200,000 go through Santa Claus, Indiana to get a special postmark on them. Third on the list, or second in amount processed, is Valentine's Day cards. And people only mail 145 million of those, of which, or they buy 145 million, 109 million are mailed. But third on the list is Thanksgiving cards. There are 17 million Thanksgiving cards sold every year, and of those 17 million, almost 13 million are dropped in the Postal Service. And so when we started this program, we said, well, let's try and get some portion of those 13 million cards to come to Plymouth to get a special cancellation so that the people getting those Thanksgiving greeting cards not only get a greeting card with whatever you put inside that's special to the person that you're mailing it to, but it comes from Plymouth, Massachusetts, the site of the first Thanksgiving. So we started this program last year. We had high hopes, and it turns out we did better than expected. We remailed almost 21,000 Thanksgiving cards from Plymouth, Massachusetts. We had targeted, hopefully, at least 10,000, and we did much better than that by getting 21,000. So here we are again. Can we show another slide up there? Do I have the authority here? Or do you have the button? All right. Show one with one of the postmarks from Santa Claus, or there's a postmark from Santa Claus, Indiana. And they involve the school kids in creating the postmarks and other people in town. And they produce so many that they need volunteers to put postmarks on the cards. And that's another view of one of their cancellations. The previous one was of Loveland, Colorado. Anyway, getting to our story, last year we did 21,000. And what we hope to do this year is continue and do at least twice as many. So we're looking at a program this year, if things go well, of about 50,000 cards to be sent to Plymouth to get a special postmark to be remailed. And so that's the goal, and I appreciate you letting me talk to you tonight about it. We have sponsors of the program, and the sponsors of the program are donating free Thanksgiving cards. And what I did last year as Tom Turkey, and what I'll do again this year as Tom Turkey, is talk to people visiting the town, talk to town residents, and we're giving away to them 5 free Thanksgiving cards. And if they want additional Thanksgiving cards, 25 cents a piece, but they have to sign a piece of paper that says not only will they write the cards out to whoever they want to mail them to and stick them in the mail, they have to mail them back to us to put them into the system. And last year, we gave away approximately 8,000 of these cards, 5 cards at a time. We got about 4,500 back, and the balance of the 20,000 came from businesses and towns like Plymouth. Plymouth contributed to this. And shown on the slide now is the two postmarks we created last year. One shows the Plymouth 400 logo, and the other shows a logo that says, "Give Thanks." And in addition to that, it has the postal postmark from Plymouth, Mass., the first Thanksgiving. And so the postmarks this year will be exactly the same, except the date will change. So I want to thank you for listening to me. It's an exciting program. It generates a lot of activity for the town, both nationally and internationally. We stand out at Plymouth Patuxent Museum. We talk to thousands of people. Last year, we had almost 5,000 people and other entities and businesses participate in the program. So we're looking to be very, very close to third in remailing nationally. If we get to 50,000, that'll put us on the map for remailing. And so that's the goal, and anything you can do here to help this move along. It generates no particular profit for anybody, but it does generate a lot of interest in the town of Plymouth and the site of the first Thanksgiving. So if anybody has any questions, I'd like to hear them. And
No, but thank you very much. Questions?
John?
No, I just want to... George, I think I've been present for 90% of your presentations over the last decade, and, you know, I certainly admire your passion with respect to this issue. The board came into January of 20, and we went into our first executive session, and Ms. Cavaco looked at the individuals in the room and said, well, we've made it to our Super Bowl. And unfortunately, and it's sad, but COVID had different plans, and the Super Bowl was canceled, and that was devastating. But
I only spent 10 years of my retirement planning those.
I know, I know, George, and you know, the passion and the dedication and the expertise that you bring, certainly with respect to stamps and what you tried to do on coins and stamps and all, you know, I can't thank you enough, and to keep doing that and going to the next level here,
Well, this is one
I admire you.
I'll just make a pitch again for something else. This is one of 3 legacy programs. This one I'm putting a lot of time and effort into, but we also have a legacy program with the Plymouth license plate, the PL license plate. That is still available. If you want a PL license plate, you walk into the registry and you say, I want a PL license plate instead of this one I have. Part of that revenue comes back to Plymouth. There's a surcharge when you renew your license plate. It's $40, I think, every 2 years. That comes back to Plymouth. The Cape and Islands has the most successful license plate program in the state, and they literally generate millions of dollars through that program. And so
I think I remember the plate, when they initiated that program, was that if you signed up for the plate, I think the initial cost was $43.
Yes.
28 of which came back to the community.
Right.
And then every 2 years after that, if you renewed your plate, I think 100% of the renewal fee would come back.
Well, there's a surcharge.
Okay.
So, but it comes back to Plymouth. And that leads to the third legacy program we have. When we started the Plymouth 400, we planned a remembrance park on Coles Hill. We have the property, we've done the archaeological dig, so now we can build a monument there for Remembrance Park, and part of the license plate revenue will go towards building that park. And that's a remembrance park in honor of the great plague that passed through Plymouth before the Pilgrims arrived, which wiped out 100% of the natives in Patuxent, which is where we're sitting right now, except for one, and it was Squanto. And the only reason he survived is he was taken as a prisoner to Spain. So there was one native of this town that survived. And then, of course, you know, when the Pilgrims landed in 1620, that winter, 50% of the people died. And then, you know, in 2020, we had an epidemic, and a lot of people died. So the Remembrance Park, which will be built on Coles Hill, will remember those 3 events. The event of the natives being plagued in 1619, I think, and essentially wiped out. The Pilgrims going from 100 people on the Mayflower down to 50, and the COVID epidemic of 2020. So thank you very much for your time, and I thank you for your continuing support.
Thank you so much.
Any other questions?
Okay, our next order of business is the Plymouth County Woodlot, and we actually have our state rep, Matthew Muratori, who has been kind enough to join us and help everyone understand where we're at. So, Mr. Muratori, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for the invite. Appreciate that. I'm actually not too unhappy following a turkey. It's better than being called a turkey.
Right.
And that's happened a few times. And I also, I'm happy to be here, too, to see the firefighter ceremony, and we've witnessed that in the past as being a former select board member. It's just great to see that ceremony.
Really is.
And also the energy program and how that's coming around. And so timely, too, because in the early morning hours of Monday, we passed the climate change and energy bill. It's a major bill that's on the governor's desk right now that we anticipate he'll be signing this week. So it's very timely for what you're doing. So I congratulate you for that as well. So I understand last week there was some discussion about the woodlot and the gaming commission. So what I was asked to do by you, Madam Chair, and through you to the members, just give you a little update with regard to the gaming commission. There was some indication that the state legislature was going to be looking to make changes to horse track racing and change the, I think it's, Steve, I think you can help me, Chapter 128, Sections A and C, I believe it is, changing that section, which right now indicates that a vote of the board, select board in any community for or against a horse track racing goes to the Gaming Commission, and that gets filed. And I believe this board voted 5-0 to do that. I confirmed that this afternoon as late as 4 o'clock, just to ensure that the Gaming Commission does have the letter. They do, and it is on record that there, as of now, there is no horse track racing going to be held in Plymouth because of that vote you took, because that is the section of the law that says that. There is no legislation looking to change that law. Sports betting bill, we passed that very, very late in the morning on Monday, and there is nothing in that bill that changes that law either. Now, I think some of the maybe the miscommunication that happened, and I'm here to give you the facts of everything. I think some of the miscommunication had to do with the Gaming Commission has their own set of rules and regulations, and they have a new application process they're putting together for horse track racing. And they've had the application for several years, but they're looking to update it. So there was a public comment period that just recently ended, looking for input from people for that application. The Gaming Commission has closed the public comment period, but again, I confirmed they have your letter and your what your response to that is, so they understand that. And they'll be looking as a Gaming Commission to actually update that application probably in the next 30 to 60 days with their goal of having a new application as of October 1st. Again, there's no indication that the law, the Chapter 128, Sections A and C are going to be changing on that, and that would have to be through the state legislature. And as you know, Madam Chair, that we are done with session for the rest of the year, so there's no indication that it's going to happen. So that is that's the facts on that, and I'll take questions at this point if you have any questions or comments about that.
So, Matt, do you think there is anything additionally that we need to do as a board, as a representative of the town of Plymouth? We did send 2 letters. They were fairly strong of our opposition, and of course, we went with the wishes of the people, 88% that voted against it. I think the concerns that our residents have, and even myself, is that we don't want anything changing in that midnight hour, if it all could happen that way, that would, make Plymouth, under new consequence, have to allow something like that. So there are several questions that I think as a board that we can give to our town manager, and he can discuss them with our legal team. But do you see any additional steps that we need to take? Because we need this to be so airtight that there's nothing that's going to affect the integrity of what the wishes are of the people.
Sure. I did ask that question, if there's anything more that can be done, and it was very clear that your letter of 5-0 vote is very clear, and there's not much more that's needed at this point. And just to go back a step, too, now, I know some of this information that got out there was triggered by the county commissioners a week or so ago when they signed the lease with Boston South. Now, that lease is it's for a 90-day due diligence period. In any development project, especially this size, and I think you're all aware of this, there is a due diligence period that they have to go through. You have to check for 21E and, sort of other testing of the soil and other things that may need to be done on the property. And that's going to allow them to do that over the next 90 days. And then there's a 3-year lease on top of that. That would, if the 90 days goes well and they're going to make the next step, up to 3 years, they had to come up with a development plan, budget, et cetera, for what that property can be. And the commissioners have been very clear about that, that before something is built, the Boston South have to come forward to get approval from the commissioners of what that concept's going to be. Now, I think the concept that the commissioners have been public about is they would like to see an entertainment complex of some sort there. Now, that doesn't mean that's just horse track racing. That could be a convention center, that could be a movie theater, a ball field. There's all sorts of things that could be happening there. So they're going through the due diligence at this point, and they're going to go through if the due diligence goes well, go through the lease process. And, I think there'll be time at that point to see what that actually comes out to be. But again, to reiterate, Chapter 128, Sections A and C of Mass General Laws is very clear. It's from 1950s, maybe early 60s, that law was written, and there's no indication that law is being changed at this point.
And if there were any indication, I'm sure you would let us know immediately.
Oh, absolutely,
Right.
yeah. And also, I would bet, if I was a betting man, sports betting, I'm not, but if I was, I would bet there would be several communities in the Commonwealth and several state representatives and senators that would be going against that procedure if that was to come forward.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Helm?
Matt, thanks for coming tonight.
Anytime.
Let's talk about the license application. Okay. I think you indicated that they can change that.
Correct.
Without any approval from the legislative branch.
That's correct.
Okay. And they're going to be doing that possibly in October.
Correct.
Okay. Couple questions. Okay, because if they change the application and remove the stipulation that there be agreement by the Board of Selectmen or whatever governing body, then that effectively makes the rule that makes that not included. If they do not
That's not true.
Okay.
No.
Go ahead.
They have the right under their rules and regulations to do a new application, which is what they're potentially going to do. But they can't change the Mass General laws. They would have to, they would have to request the legislature to actually do that.
Okay, so they can't just remove
That's correct.
from the application that part that says you need to have the agreement of the Board of Selectmen.
That is
And
my
I've seen
understanding,
the
yes.
application, and they say, do you have it, yes or no? And if yes, please attach it. If no, explain why not.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly, because
So-
Mass General law supersedes that.
Okay, all right, good. That's a good answer. Now, is there?
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, no, it is. It's a happy answer, actually.
Not a
So-
turkey
No, it's
answer.
not.
It's a happy answer, yeah.
It's a happy answer. Because there is a lot of concern about what the Gaming Commission can or can't do without legislative approval. So that was my question.
Great. John?
Matt, with respect to the Gaming Commission and potentially, looking at a new application before October 1st, they have a public comment period?
Yes, that has expired.
It's already expired?
Yep.
So it's too late for this board or this community to weigh in and send them?
You already have, through the
We
letter
already
you
have.
sent with the 5-0 vote.
That
They've
also-
accepted that as part of that.
They accepted, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, thank you.
Charlie?
So Matt, one more time, just to reiterate.
Yeah.
It's very clear that without legislative change and without our okay, they cannot get a race license in Plymouth.
That's correct.
Okay. It's very clear to everybody, so, okay. The other thing I want to tell the
Well,
folks,
let me just say one thing, though, okay? What's a little different here, and this is where maybe you need to get clarification from, is that this is on county land. So the county, has certain rights of what they can do with that land. But I think the belief is they still have to follow the Mass General Laws, Chapter 128A and C, that if it's going to be held in a community, the Board of Selectmen or the mayor or the city council of that community still needs to give a okay. But I would just slightly caution you on that you may just want to double check that.
because the way I read it, it's the host community, which
That's
Plymouth would be
correct.
the host community.
That's the way it's being interpreted by the legislature, and that's, but I'm not sure, and Steve, maybe you can help me with this, I'm not sure that it was written back then that way. I think it was by the host, it was for the host community, but I think you're right, Charlie, Mrs. Selectman, I think you can actually interpret it as it would be the host community for that land. Am I correct on that? Yeah.
With the continuing caveat that I am an attorney but not an expert in this field, my research going back has shown that 128A, 13A is the current statute that says if you are seeking a license to run a horse racing facility, you need to get town approval or city approval. You need the municipality's approval pursuant to 27133. Chapter 27133 is not a sunsetting provision. So right now, Chapter 128A, all of the provisions of Chapter 128A, including 3N, which says that you cannot have any horse racing on lands owned by the Commonwealth or any of its subdivisions. That provision sunsets each year right now, and it tends to be renewed. It has been since 2017. It's renewed each year. I expect, as Matt has said, it will be renewed yet again. But 27133 separately says that in order to lay out a racetrack, you need the approval of the town, and that provision is not going anywhere automatically. So there would need to be an affirmative change by the legislature. The reference to the county land is in 128A, Section 14. Sorry for all the code sections. But that separately says that in order to run a racetrack, the last county-wide vote, whenever that may be, and that could have been 100 years ago, but whenever the last county-wide vote took place, it approved horse racing. So it's a two-pronged test under 128A right now. First, you need the county to have approved it. Second, you need the town to have approved it. And 27133 still says the town has the final say. So the goal is to make sure from our legislature that those provisions don't change.
Thank you, Mr. Bulletin, and thank you, Rep. Muraturi.
He's my attorney.
And for all the folks that are here and the folks that are at home, I hope that's clear enough to you, because the town, this board, is not going to okay a racetrack. We've said it, and we mean what we say. And on top of that, a bigger issue is if they come back with another proposal, and I hope they come back with something that the residents can support. But I'm not in favor of any kind of use of that woodlots until we get the roads fixed. I mean, it's just, The congestion down there right now is awful, it's terrible, and we have 320 apartments that are going to open up soon there. So that's a real big issue, is the congestion in the roads there, so.
Right, yeah. And it's clear, the county has a right to develop the land, and, you know, however they want to do it, they need to go through the due diligence, and just wait to see what they come up with, you know, and let's kind of go from there. We're kind of taking a wait and see on that.
But we're not going to support anything the residents don't
No,
support.
and I think that's pretty
I'm not
clear.
gonna, so.
One of the things that I think is important that we do get the word out is that I think that we have certainly put enough information towards the Gaming Commission and the state and the legislatures and our delegation to know that we are completely against horse racing, casino, whatever that we put in that letter, because it was quite extensive. But one of the things that I think that we need to do is that, you know, we have questions that we should be asking to our legal counsel. One of the things that I said last week was, you know, once before it went out to lease, did that land have to be, oh my goodness. Yeah, I mean, you know, was that the town of Plymouth, were we able to do that? Because that was never offered to us. So was it made surplus? And if so,
Yeah, I don't
then-
believe it's surplus land. They're not giving the land up. I think they're using it as a vehicle to raise money for their budget. So
Right.
I don't think that, but I'm not an attorney, so that's.
Right, so I think that, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm going to move forward with this, that we instruct, and this is the board conversation, that we instruct the town manager with our list of questions, the questions that we had from last week, and I believe Mr. Sinesi has them written down, and then reach out to whoever, whatever group of attorneys, we have a few, and get the absolute answers to those questions. I do know that at one point, the town manager asked Boston South or the county commissioners for what their legal opinion was of zoning and all that, and maybe you could just explain that a little, Derek.
Yeah, through the chair. So you're absolutely right. So we have engaged Boston South in the past. They assert that they, working with the county commissioners, that they have the ability to cite certain developments without necessarily going to the town for the permitting and zoning process. A couple of things we've done. So we've reached out to them. We've asked them to provide their legal opinion so our town council can react to that. They failed to do that to date. Lee Hartman and I, our planning director, we actually had a conversation about this the other day. When you look at the property, I want to say almost 2/3 of that property is residential, and the other approximately 1/3 is commercial industrial, light industrial. There actually is a precedent that the town has issued permits on that property for gravel removal. So we've already set a precedent that the county has to come to the town for go through the permitting process. So we believe, and even having some small conversations with town council, we believe that we do have the authority through the permitting process and through the zoning process. But we can follow up with that and get that in writing.
And once you have all these questions that, like I said, that we want answered by legal, if possible, well, not if possible, we want you to come back to the board in open session and explain all the answers that you've received from our town council.
Absolutely.
So I think it's important that everyone knows what we know. I mean, we have been asked to a meeting with Boston South that myself and the vice chair and you will be attending. I don't know if Lee is attending, Mr. Hartman, I'm not sure. But, and that was, they just asked us that yesterday.
Right.
So, just so everybody knows. But it's good news that so far, we have held them at bay. There is no horse racing. This board is never going to approve horse racing unless you, the people, decide that's what you want. So there's a lot of misinformation out there, there's a lot of communications, there's, social media has blown up, although I've kind of stepped away from it a little bit, but there's no reason, I try, because I said I stepped away from it a little bit. But there's no reason to continue with this rhetoric that we've done something wrong, because we, in fact, in my belief, and from what our state representative told us, we have protected the community from such an organization coming forward with something like that. So that's all I have to say about
At least
that.
today.
At
least for
least today.
Yeah.
So, anyone else? Harry?
So we, the board, are requesting that the town manager take questions to our council, get answers, report back to us.
Correct.
Anthony, Chairman Cavaco mentioned that you have a record of the questions that were asked last week. What are they? Because if we don't know them now, I want to start asking them for the record. And I think each one of our members should be able to ask the questions that they want answered.
I have them.
Okay, I've got a bunch of them too, but I didn't write them down on that. But I've got some questions as well.
I think if it makes it easier, I'd be happy to collect all those questions, and then I can collate them and send those to KP, if that makes it easier.
And maybe send them to us first so we can review them and say, yes, this is everything that we have. And it was all the questions from the meeting last week. And if there's any additional questions that any of the board members
Yeah.
have.
Yeah, I've come up with a few since that meeting.
Okay. Is that okay, Derek?
Yeah, I'm happy to do that.
Do you want to vote for that, or is the?
Given this is an agenda item, I think it would be helpful that we have an affirmative vote from the board to direct the town manager to engage KP with the questions that you send me, and we'll get those answers back to you, and we'll report those publicly.
Okay, is there a motion? Is there a second? Second.
For discussion.
Discussion?
I said last week, I really don't want to spend money on this issue. I don't think we have to. I'm very comfortable with what I heard tonight, but if it's the will of the board to ask some questions of our council, hopefully it doesn't cost a lot to the taxpayers, but to get the answers for everybody. But again, I just hate spending any money on this issue, so, but.
Well, we hate spending money on any issue, but,
Yeah.
I think this is our responsibility to have these questions answered, because it's something that we can put out as a public document. We can post it on the town website, and even with some of the things that Rep. Moratori has explained to us this evening, I think that's important to get out there as well.
Good.
So,
And hopefully that puts everything to bed with this.
right.
So
Harry?
everybody can move on.
Yeah, I'd just like to point out that actually this evening, Representative Moratori brought up 2 points that I would like to ask our council. One being, he himself said we probably should consult with our legal counsel about the rights of the county to do whatever it is they want to do on that land, and whether or not state statute actually applies to county land, because I think it's always been assumed that this covers private land. And we have an interesting situation and a complication, but, I'm going to follow Matt's advice and ask that.
If I may, just
that
a
question.
correction, I never said private land.
Okay,
It's it's government land.
Right, it's government land.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. I'm just referring to things like Barrington. That was private land. In other places, I believe Wareham was private land. So we have a little bit of a difference here, a little bit of an interesting wobble in the whole thing that I think that you were indicating it would probably be wise to talk to council. The other was, we need our council to find out, has there ever been in the past a countywide vote for horse race tracking? For a horse race? I do not know if there is or not. I think that it would be good to know. So I'm going to vote yes.
Matt, does Mr. Zeros still have a precinct in Plymouth?
Who?
Steve Zeros, the state rep from Sandwich. Does he still have a precinct in Plymouth? Okay, okay.
Steve Exaros.
Yes.
Yes, technically, right now, he is. He's precinct 9.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, so.
Yeah, sorry.
I know you're all busy, the state delegation is busy. I appreciate you coming out tonight, and I hope that.
Just to be clear, too, I'm here on behalf of the entire delegation for Sue Moran, Kathy Lenatra, and Steve.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I expect, and I know that you will, make sure that the other three, the two state reps and Senator Moran, you'll bring them up to speed on what occurred
Yeah, they
here
knew why I
tonight.
was coming tonight. We're all on the same page. Matter of fact, Madam Chair, you have asked if one of us can come to meetings every so often, and they're all in agreement for whenever you want us to come. We can, Sue can come anytime, Kathy can. They can coordinate through Derek or in his office.
I haven't told the board that yet.
Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry. Skip that part.
So I just wanted to say, sorry, that, when we compile the list, Derek, when we talk about this list of questions, we're going to send up to KP. Just piggybacking on what Mr. Helm said, prior comments from State Rep Muratori. The big one for me is this government, the variable of county government, because past and current members of that 3-member board have made it clear to me on various issues, not only in Plymouth, but other communities in the 27-community county, that local regulations and zoning doesn't apply to them. They are above reproach. So that's the primary question that we can be proactive on to see what our legal counsel is going to tell us that they have the rights to do and the rights that they can't do, at least without going through a process at the local level.
So now I'll explain what Matt was saying. I had a conversation with Mr. Muratori, Rep. Muratori, Honorable Rep, okay, and that's Madam Chairman to you. So, and I did have a conversation, because I think it's really important that people know what our state delegation is doing. And I think for the town of Plymouth, we're the biggest town in the community, in the state. So I've asked them, the 3 of them, to attend. They can share, they can all come together. We can do it bi-weekly as we're doing our meetings. And I think it's important that they give us updates on what's going on at the State House that will affect the town of Plymouth. And if there's nothing, they can just hang out with us. And if there's something, at least we hear it, no pun intended, from the horse's mouth. So I did ask.
It's not a turkey's mouth. So.
Turkey's mouth, whatever, whoever's mouth.
Yeah. I'll wear a
Yep.
horse suit next time.
So that, I hope the board doesn't have a problem with that. I was going to bring it up under new business, but Matt blew it for me. Thanks, Matt. But I think it's important. That's important information for all of us to have. So, and Matt, I ask you, I think everybody's done answering questions, but I ask if you'd stick around a little bit during our public comment, just in case people
Sure.
have.
Would you like me to give you updates on the other couple of
Oh,
items too
yes,
that you
please
requested?
do.
After you take a vote of the board?
Yes. Okay, so all those in favor? It's unanimous. A vote to, I'm sorry, there was a motion, there was discussion. The vote was to instruct the town manager to take all our questions and go to our legal counsel.
I think Jenny fell asleep at that part.
And report back
And-
in
yeah.
open session.
Right, and report back in open session. So, okay. So
So-
we have a couple other things.
Yeah, so you had asked me on behalf of the Kathy Lenatra, Representative Lenatra, and Senator Moran, and Representative Zaros to give you an update on a couple of legislative items that, as you know, we just finished session, 12:10 a.m. on Monday morning, after a 22-hour all-night session. But to give you an update on a couple of those items. First of all, with regard to, I think it was the town meeting vote in April with regard to hybrid model of town meeting support. There is the bill is in second reading, and even though we're not in formal session, these bills can pass in informal session. Informal session by Constitution has to happen every 72 hours. We have to be in session. And informal is just a matter of a few members from each party to be in attendance for that. Formal session is when the whole 160 legislators and 40 senators have to go in for formal session. We are out for the rest of the year, so there will be no formal session until next calendar year. But these are still in play. So that one is still in play. It's actually in second reading. After second reading, it goes to third reading, and then it goes for enactment. So we're going to keep following that, and we'll keep you updates on where that stands as it moves forward throughout the summer and the fall. The second one was a bill that, it was a similar bill that was filed for hybrid for the entire community. I filed that bill with the support of Senator Moran and Representative Lenatra to have town meeting representative form of governments to actually have hybrid. There are a lot of communities, as you know, that have open meetings and town open meetings, and those are more difficult to have hybrid meeting. So we've asked to kind of take that out and to just look at town representative form of government to see if we can have hybrids for those. So that right now is, it's still, that's in third reading now, so that's ahead of the town one. So fingers crossed, we'll see where that one goes. However, I'm not hopeful on either one of them, and I'll tell you why. These bills were put into a larger bill probably 3 weeks ago, I think. It was added to a bill, but then was removed towards the end of session because the representative from Fall River actually put it in. It was accepted by the House to do hybrid, but what it said is that you must do hybrid. So the word "must" kind of killed that because it should be an option if communities want to do a hybrid. So that was kind of killed at that point. But at least these two are in play. Also, you asked about the bill with regard to the nuclear power plant and the Holtec bill for the pilot program. And I believe had a conversation with town manager on this over the weekend. This bill was not moving. So it was in third reading. It was sitting in third reading for about 3 weeks now. So I finally talked to the chair of the Energy Committee, even though it's not in third reading, but he wanted to have input onto it. And we came up with a compromise. In order to get bills passed, when you know your current bill is not going to get passed for whatever reason, you have to compromise. So we did compromise. The language in that bill that had to say, including and up to, I believe it was spent fuel rods and something else, was removed. So it was removed because, well, I'm not sure why it was removed, but it wasn't going to move otherwise. So I felt that, and with the town manager, that at least what this bill will do is allow you to sit down and have a discussion about a pilot program. I don't know if this, once we see the final language, that precludes spent fuel rods. I believe that the language will, because it's they need to sit down with you to do a pilot. I believe it can. It can conclude anything. But we'll have to see what the final bill comes out. But I've been pretty much reassured on that one that that most likely will pass in an informal session and hopefully pretty soon. So we'll see what the final language is on that, and I'll pass that along to you.
Matt, who's the chair of the Energy Committee?
Jeffrey Roy.
And he's from where?
Thank you. Yes, thank you. Franklin, yeah.
Franklin.
Yep. Okay.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
In the time frame for that specific Holtec article you're talking about, if that passes, what kind of a time frame are we looking at?
I was hoping it was going to pass this past weekend while we were in session. It didn't quite yet, so my indication is it's probably going to be the next week or two.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
But I'll keep you informed. We'll keep you informed. Yep. And I think that's why it's a good idea from the Madam Chair, your idea of having, one of us here maybe every other week. These are the type of things that we can give updates on as we move forward.
Right.
There was another one, just interesting one, that had to do with the Plymouth Plantation Highway. So Plymouth Patuxent actually asked us if we would actually have that highway changed, the name of it changed. So we're in the process of doing that, and that is moving along. It's been engrossed in the House, and it's moved on to the Senate now. So we're hoping that will come out in a formal session, so it can officially change the name of the highway.
Mm-hmm.
And there was another one that the police chief asked for, which had to do with an act relative to the appointment of police officers in the town of Plymouth, and that had to do with the increase of the age of the taking the exams from 32 to 40.
Oh, nice.
So that is moving along. That's in third reading now, and also at the Senate as well.
That would be helpful.
Yeah. And I think that one will move along pretty quick, too. Now, there was another one with regard to let's see, I think it was dry cast storage. No, it wasn't that one. Sorry, I'm trying to read from my phone. No, I think those are the highlights that he would ask for. But I do want, why I'm here, is to give you an update too with regard to the budget, the fiscal year 23 budget, which we passed last week. It's now sitting on the governor's desk for his signature. A few items in there that relate to Plymouth. $90,000 is in there for the Plymouth Waterfront Visitor Centers to update that and put extra bathrooms in there. There's $150,000 for the Plymouth Housing Authority to finish the house on Oak Street. So that was some good news for them. There's $47,000 for Plymouth Police Patrol and Rescue Boat for the motors. I believe town meeting did not pass for the boat motors, but we were able to put that into the budget. There was $41,000 for upgrades to the Plymouth Fire Department operations for the smart board, so that is in there. There's $105,000 for PAC TV as well. They want to put together a mobile van so they can do more news programs as they come up. So they'll be able to roam around the towns that they are in to do that. So there's $105,000 in there for them to do that as well. The Chapter 70 money is over $27 million for Chapter 70 money, which is the schools. So that's up, and is unrestricted general. And by the way, the per pupil cost for schools was running around, I think it was $30 per pupil in the Commonwealth the previous year. This new budget's $60, so it's been doubled. So there's a significant amount of money being put into the schools in the Commonwealth.
Excellent.
Unrestricted general government aid for you folks is $4.54 million is going to be coming, so that's up as well. There's also some money that we passed a major IT infrastructure bill and transportation bill. It's all into one. And in that, there's $1.5 million, and this is, by the way, this is bond money. So it's not money that's free cash that can come out right away. It's up to a governor to actually have this money released. So this could take, 6 months. It could take several years in order to see this money. But the important point is that there's money in there for these projects for whenever the money is released. $1.5 million for the town of Plymouth for the sidewalk improvements on Route 80. There's $700,000 for engineering, design, and permitting of Exit 13, which is the Route 3 slip ramp reconstruction planning to alleviate the congestion there. There's $100,000 for the Plymouth Regional Economic Foundation for a feasibility study for ferry service in Plymouth. Let's see, there's $100,000 for the town of Plymouth for the reconstruction of the historic waterfront seawall to increase public safety and protect businesses addressing the sea level. $122,000 for the town of Plymouth for the installation of 18 mobile data terminals in frontline response apparatus and command cars to increase efficiency, transfer of sensitive and complex information, reduce excessive radio traffic, and increase firefighter safety. $54,000 town of Plymouth, the purchase of installation of level 2 police electric vehicle charging stations. Let's see, there's $2.2 million for the water main and storage water drainage system for the intersection of Court Street and Hedge Road in North Plymouth area. There's $250,000 for the Plymouth Town Ward pedestrian improvement and sidewalks, and $1 million for Nix Rock Road and Squanto Road reconstruction projects. So those are all items that we as a delegation have supported and were accepted into the budget, and this infrastructure, transportation budget, IT budget. That is bond money, so I just want to be clear. It's not money that's coming to the town yet. It's going to take some time to get that, but at least that money is there. The unfortunate part of this whole exercise, and the problem with waiting to the last minute in a lot of these conference committee reports, is the economic development bill did not pass. The economic development bill was the bill that you probably heard most about. That was going to be money that would be rebates coming back to folks, I think single taxpayers would get $250 back. Married couples filing jointly will get $500 back. There was a total of $1 billion in tax cuts in that economic development, and that did not pass. And that can't pass in informal session unless the bonding is taken out, unless all the bonding items are taken out of the economic bill. That's a possibility that may happen, but what's triggered this is and you may have heard this, there was a 1986 voter-approved law that was passed that said if the state of Massachusetts had excess of $2.3 billion in any single budget year, that money, whatever that money is, that's certified by the Secretary of State in September of that year, would go back to the taxpayers. A percentage would go back to the taxpayers on the percentage of taxes that they paid the previous year. That came up, I believe, on Wednesday or Thursday by the governor as sort of a reminder that people that have been there a long time forgot about. So that's significant. That could be close to $3 billion coming back. The governor believes that that $3 billion plus the $1 billion in the economic bill can actually be afforded to give back to taxes to people in the next coming year. But the leadership in the House and the Senate wanted some time to study that, so that's kind of why that held off. So we're hoping that this will all come back again at some point, but a couple of items that were in there for Plymouth under that economic bill were $75,000 replacement of the wooden boardwalk along the harbor. There was $100,000 for Mass Audubon for Tidmarsh. That was significant for them. And there was $1 million for the town of Plymouth for the design and reconstruction of the town square that you were looking for as well. There was also almost $1.6 million for upgrades in Memorial Hall as well that were part of that bond as well. So we'll keep you updated on where that stands as time goes on. But at this point, that economic bill has not gone through, but we'll let you know. Also in that, there was $1 million for Nathaniel Morton recreation facility repairs that was in there. Yeah, that seemed to be it. So that kind of gives you the update. So what we'll do, Madam Chair, is we'll work through the delegation. We'll get them this information, at least the next time you want to meet with somebody, they'll have that information to give some updates on that and whatever else is happening at the time.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, you guys pick a schedule. Our next meeting is the 16th. If you want to come in here, we're on a 2-week summer
2 weeks,
schedule.
okay. I will let them know.
And I believe the 16th will be remote, all remote,
Okay.
so.
Okay. And we won't wait till those meetings. If some of these other things pop ahead of time,
Right,
we'll
of
be
course.
sure to let you and the town manager know.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
Betty.
Oh, John?
Matt, I didn't know you were here tonight for such an in-depth review of what was going on. So just off the top of my head, 2 quick things. You talked on Chapter 70 money, and then you gave a statistic of the per pupil went from 30 to 60.
$60
So,
per pupil.
So, it cost us, and I don't know exactly, I know it's what, 13 to 17,000 a year to educate a student. I don't know what the accurate number is, but it's in the
20
teens.
now.
Okay, you're pushing 20. So what are you referring to specifically? What is that?
So the Commonwealth does a per pupil cost when they actually give out this money. And so in the past, it's been running, I don't know, $15, $20 for a number of years, Derek? Yeah. And I think 2 years ago, or maybe 4 years ago, it went up to 25 or 30, which was significant. And to have this as double, so it's the way they do it, they average at $60 per pupil in the Commonwealth to pay for education.
So I missed me. Why does that seem like peanuts compared to what we're paying to educate each individual? If Chair Kavaka was saying it's almost 20,000. It doesn't.
The Commonwealth doesn't pay for the entire education, as you know.
I'm aware.
The cities and towns have to pitch in as well. So this is a significant increase from the Commonwealth to the cities and towns. So it's less that the taxpayers of Plymouth would have to pay.
Right.
I understand how that
Yeah.
works, but
Okay.
it just seems like a small amount.
$30 was a small amount, $20 was a small amount, $60 is significant.
All right.
In the scheme of things. Could it be more? Of course it could be more. I think it was a delegate led by Representative Josh Cutler probably 4 years ago. I think we were looking for 100.
So that's 60. And
Yeah.
if we have 8,000 students, that's $480,000. So that 480 falls within the Chapter 70
Of the
line?
270 million, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
All right.
I'm sorry, the 27 million that you're getting.
27 million. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, Matt, I will take your word on that one.
Yeah.
The other thing,
Thanks, John.
you're welcome. The other thing, you know as well as anyone that, this community has been the dam removal leader basically in 21st century Massachusetts. So the Department of Ecological Restoration has a database where you can go in and click on the state, and there's 3,000 dams in there, Matthew.
Yep.
Okay? So up until 5 years ago, there was 2 high-hazard level 1 dams in the community. One was owned by the town of Plymouth, and the other one was owned by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, down on State Road near High Point. So the hypocrisy to me is that this community removed 5 barriers on Town Brook over a 17-year period. The 5th and last barrier was the level 1 dam. You go over there now, I mean, it is stunningly beautiful.
Wonderful.
It's phenomenal. You see children always at play on the skateboard park and on the basketball court. It's a stunning achievement. And then whenever this community inquires at the state level, what's going on with respect to the removal of the dam down on State Road in Manomet, it's crickets. You have a densely populated residential neighborhood downstream that the Commonwealth itself acknowledges that if that dam were to fail, there'll be significant potential loss of life and significant property damage. I'm not asking for them to remove it tomorrow, but I think that the community deserves an answer, or at least some time frame, to say, hey, we'll be there in 5 years, next year, or you know what, we're never going to take care of it. That's all I'm asking for.
Yeah, sure. What I would ask for, it's the first time hearing about this, what I'd ask for is if David Gould can send some particular information through you, Madam Chair, through the town manager, send us some information on it, and as a delegation, we'll check into it to see, it may be on a list somewhere, but we'll check that out, we'll find that out, we'll get back to you on that. Thank you. Yeah, you're welcome. Well, one last thing, too, if I may. This morning, and Selectman Bledsoe was here, we were honored to have Lieutenant Governor here and Secretary of Transportation here to present a check to the town of Plymouth. I think it was $274,000, Charlie, and Derek obviously was running the show there, did I take your thunder on this? Were you going to tell them this? I'm sorry. But it was just exciting to see that, Plymouth got another $274,000 for the streets program. And more importantly, which is what I really wanted to say, is that that program started, I think in 2020 during the pandemic with $5 million. And it was just really to help cities and towns because they were hurting. And cities and towns were calling the governor, lieutenant governor, saying, look, we need some money to help downtown areas and to help our communities. That program is now a $50 million program. It's a permanent program now that's in the budget. So we're very proud that that's been put in there, and it's going to continue to help communities like Plymouth. So congratulations on that.
Excellent.
Okay.
Okay, so just in case, if you'd like to stick
Absolutely.
around
Be
for a
happy
little
to.
bit.
Be happy to.
And we're going to go, is there any more questions from the board about anything? So we are now going to go to public comment, and I'm actually going to take Pat Adelman, who has been there with her hand raised ever so gently for a long time.
Pat, you may unmute yourself.
Thank you, and thank you for taking my question. It was for Representative Matt Moratori. I wanted to know if the same stipulation that applies to horse racing, where the select board has to give their approval, if that also applies to any kind of gaming facility. Thank you.
I only checked it out for specifically to horse track racing.
The
So
letter-
I'm not sure about the gaming part. My guess is it is, but that's something you may want to have town council just double check on.
We did send, the letter that we sent, Ms. Adelman did specifically say gaming.
Yeah, I think it does, but I just want, you need to double check.
What was it, old-fashioned horse betting, or there was a historical horse racing, yes, thank you. So it was all-encompassing of all that. But
Thank you.
we can check and make sure that town council has that information. Is there?
Thank you.
Go ahead, Pat, and just please state your name for the record. I think this is another one for Mr. Moratori.
Sir, but since he's here, Pat McCarthy, Precinct 18, town meeting member. And I don't like to be pessimistic, but see, I don't totally trust Boston South Development, so this is why I'm asking this question. And I was in touch with Matt a few days ago, whenever, and thank you for getting back to me. In reviewing the 59-page application that it went before the Gaming Commission, the end date was July 26th. And then there's no new posting you updated us. So in that application process, which I kind of re-reviewed it, but not every single word, but a lot of it, and this is just the verbiage that made me a little nervous, because it did say under section 4.1, it asks if the applicant's proposed facility and premises has been approved by local authorities. And then it also asks if it's been approved in 4.3, if it's, and you have to provide the documents, the applicant would. And then, has it been approved by vote in the county in which? And then I read, and I can't remember if it's in this document, but in the Gaming Commission website, it also stated somewhere, and this is where Matt could clear this up, it said that the vote by the local, I'm summarizing, the way I interpreted it, I'm not telling you it's totally accurate, but it said that the vote had to be taken after the entity applied for the license. So, and then it would have to be by, also it talks about the host community approving, and then it mentions also abutting towns to the host community would have to vote also if they thought they were going to be impacted by the entity coming in, whatever this horse racing situation was coming in. So that it just made me a little nervous, even though I know we had a non-binding referendum and we voted and you voted, and I'm really happy about all that, and I'm happy that you're going to ask town council. And then I don't know if I should ask a couple of my questions kind of run together here in terms of concerns. So I don't know, but that was like a technicality kind of thing that, and then the other issue that makes me really nervous is in their 19-page lease agreement, which I've reread that a couple of times, and I'm not a lawyer at all, so but that first 90 days, which started on July 21st, is when they can do all their due diligence inspections, and then they have a right to terminate, or they can continue on, but who knows what happened with those inspections? And in particular, I'm concerned about the environmental inspections that would be on that land for whatever they're going to want to do. So again, I guess if any of you want to ask that, I know it's between the county and the entity, it's not between the town and the entity, but if town council could read the 19-page lease agreement. I just had a question about that, and then, of course, I have, other kinds of questions, but I was concerned about that 90 days and whatever kinds of inspections they have a right to do, which it's a lot of verbiage of all the inspections they have a right to do. So, and would we ever know anything about them? And they're supposed to go before all the boards, and when are they going to do that in the 90 days? You know, when are they really going to do that? And then what else are they cooking up on their, up their sleeve? So overall, that's without being legally correct. Those are my thoughts. Thank you.
Just to be clear, thank you, Pat. Just to be clear that this is like any developer that comes in the community. And I think this is the process of most businesses that come in and want to do a due diligence period, is to do all those things. So that's why doing the 90 days makes sense to do that. That information will be public because they're going to have to go back to the county commissioners at a public meeting to kind of go through that if they're going to go to the next step. So I think that information, I know that information will be all public. With regard to your first question, that was with the application, yes. If I wasn't clear, let me be crystal clear. What I said is the letter that you submitted with the 5-0 vote, that the board submitted with the 5-0 vote, is the comment period, okay? And there's nothing more that the town needs to do or can do, because there's no application in front of the Gaming Commission. So you're absolutely right. So if and when there's an application to the Gaming Commission, then that would be the time for the town to, once again, reiterate, they don't have to do a vote of the community. They could just do it from the board making that vote. It just needs to be a majority vote to do that. So I hope that's crystal clear.
Okay. Sure. I see. Ms. Holsworth will be next.
Hello, I'm Elise Bruno, Chair of Precinct 18. I just wanted to say thank you to you guys for reaching out to the state reps and really opening and clarifying a lot of the information. And thank you for coming down. It really helped out a lot. It's exit 13. Yeah, old 5. Yep. So I just had a question. It kind of falls under the county versus town thing again. With that special permit you had mentioned with Kingstown, with their gravel and sand operation, they left a pit there in that globally rare Pine Barren. So I was wondering who enforces those kinds of permits.
For that type of permit, that would be enforced through our Inspectional Services Department.
Okay.
Derek, can you look into that? Have them look into that?
Yeah, we can certainly take a look at that. Mhm.
Sure.
Thank you, I appreciate it. My other question is kind of about the mega church that's going on. I don't think it's in Precinct 18, but it's a stone away. So I just heard a lot of concerns about that, and I was just wondering if for their development project, will they have to come before the board, or who kind of oversees a project of that size?
I believe that would be planning and zoning. I don't think they'd be coming in front of the board.
Okay, I was just curious.
Yeah.
So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Holsworth?
Ms. Holdsworth, you can unmute yourself.
I think I'm unmuted now. Okay, I got it. I have a couple questions, actually, an observation and some questions. Chapter 128A, Section 3L prohibits racing, horse racing in Commonwealth-owned property or property owned by communities thereunder, which would include the county. And I don't know, Matt, have you taken a look at that? That's my first question. My next question, the gaming application. It seems like they're putting the cart before the horse, if you will. The process seems like it's inconsistent with Mass General Law, Chapter 128A, Section 2. That statute requires that an application shall be filed in 1 calendar year for racing in the following calendar year. And yet the new application is being set up in such a way that you could have a piece of land that has not yet been developed, such as our woodlot, applying for an application with absolutely no racetrack, and it might authorize the Mass Gaming Commission to grant a license. There's no provision in 128A for granting an application for racing in future years. And they have been very clear, and the legislature again this year they amended the provision that kept the sunset law, continued the 128A for yet another year. It was going to continue it for 3 years, but it's only continuing it for a year. So clearly it's a year-to-year sort of license, yet the way the new application is set up, it seems to be set up so that somebody who wants to invest in a woodlot might be able to get a license today, set up some maybe gaming licenses, because you need you can get a gaming license if you have a horse racing license now, once the governor signs it. And there's also some questions about simulcast racing and what have you. It seems to me there could be a whole lot of betting going on before the shovel ever hits the ground, basically. Can you speak to that, Matt? What's going on?
Absolutely. Let me try to be even clearer if I can. So whether it's a new application or an old application, the application to apply is October 1st, okay? And again, the letter that the Board of Selectmen sent was really for public comment period, because there's no application then out there yet. Now, anybody can file an application, and anybody has the right to do that. What happens is there's a period of time after the application is filed for any comments or questions or, anything needs to happen. And it's simply, at this point, because of Section 128, it's a simple vote of the Board of Selectmen once the application is filed. And once the application is filed on October 1st, doesn't mean October 2nd it goes into play. It takes several months. It takes several months for the application to be either approved or disapproved. So there's plenty of time for the Board of Selectmen at that point to send in their letter of support or non-support. So I'm hoping I'm trying to be as clear as possible. There's nothing more you can do at this point because there's no application filed. But anybody has the right to file that on October 1st, number one. Lynn, I'm sorry, I forgot your first question now. Anybody remember her first question?
Trying to unmute myself. There we go.
Okay.
Unmute myself.
128.
128A.
Yeah.
128A, section 3L. Prohibits horse racing on land owned by the Commonwealth or subdivisions thereof.
Yeah, and I think that's what we talked about earlier. That's a clarification that the board needs to get from town council.
I agree. I mean, I'm very glad that the board has agreed to bring town council in, because it seems evident that Boston South thinks that they're on strong, they've got a strong argument that they can move forward with this plan.
Well, again, if I may, Lynn, if I can interrupt you.
the board.
If I can interrupt you a second. There is no plan. At this point, there is no plan in place. What the county commissioners voted on a week or so ago was to lease the land to Boston South. The first 90 days is the due diligence, and then, within 3 years, come up with a plan, budget, et cetera, that needs to happen. So we are putting the horse before the cart before the horse, because there's nothing out there yet. So, again, anybody can file for it. It doesn't mean that they would get an application granted.
I appreciate that, Matt, but I also saw the lease, and in the lease, the first purpose of the land was horse racing.
Yep, exactly. Again, they have the right to do that. Who knows? This board may change in a year or two, and they may come back, and there could be a vote of 5-0, they want it. You don't know. So they have the right to go for that, and I don't think that this board in the next 3 years will probably change their minds, but they have the right to do that, and that's what they're pursuing. Again, the county commission is very clear. They would like to see an entertainment complex there. If it could be some horse racing there, that's fine as well, but if not, they're okay with that. But as we know, they can do other things on that land as well. But that's their preference, at least, that they would like to do.
Okay. Is there anyone else that would like to speak under public comment? No? Okay. Next is the town manager's report.
All right, thank you. Although the state rep did steal a little bit of my thunder, I guess I'll keep my comments brief. But I do, since Representative Muratori talked so much about the bond bills and the earmarks, we certainly will be receiving those dollars soon. Bond bills we'll have to wait and see. But I just want to let you know, we do have a process in place. So one thing that I'm really appreciative of is Rep. Muratori, Rep. Lanacha, Senator Moran, they often reach out to the town, and they often ask us, what are our needs? And so now that we have a grant writer, we have Tiffany Park, she's building those needs. So through all of our different departments. So when those requests come, and they come fast, and they come furious, we have these pre-built needs already ready to go, and so we're able to work with our state delegation in order to advocate for the various capital needs of the community. So again, really appreciate all the work from our state delegation this past year in getting us the dollars that we need. And then, again, we did talk a little bit about the Shared Streets program, but this was a $280,000 grant award through this program, as previously mentioned. And this program is going to focus on improving the streets and sidewalks over at Nathaniel Morton and over the training green. So we've identified those as two areas that we need some pedestrian safety and some improvement. So again, these dollars are going to go a long way to making our sidewalks even more safe than they are already. As far as Morton Park, so we talked a little bit about Morton Park about a week ago. Morton Park this past weekend was uneventful. From what we understand, things went well. Like I had mentioned earlier, we were working with the police department, we were working with the recreation department to ensure that we had all the safety measures in place so that so all of our patrons could enjoy that space in a safe manner. So again, happy to report we didn't have any issues. So we'll continue to employ those strategies through the remaining parts of the summer. As far as White Horse Beach and the whales, so earlier this morning, we were told that the Coast Guard and environmental police continue to patrol those areas, doing the best that they can to, again, make sure the waters are safe, not only for the boaters, but for the mammals as well. But later on today, we received notice that they believe the whales have migrated north. They've been sighted in the Boston Harbor. So as far as we can tell, we think a lot of the sightseeing may be over. But again, we'll continue to monitor the area with the Harbor Master's Office and report back to the board if we see anything. And I'm sure many of you will see it before we do. Heat preparation. So we have a predicted 100-degree weather day coming Thursday. Found out today that that's going to roll into Friday as well. So we're already actively preparing with the fire department, emergency management, Barry de Blasio's team over at Community Resources to ensure that we have cooling centers available if needed. So we're going to play a wait and see over the next couple of days to determine whether or not we need to put those in place. The first meeting of the Sims House Task Force had taken place today at 3 p.m. We had a very lively discussion, very good meeting for the first time. We came up with, I think, almost a dozen various action items for next week's meeting. The plan is we're going to continue to meet at the Sims House. We're going to move the meeting start time from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. To accommodate one of our members. So we'll be meeting there, at least for the foreseeable future, every Tuesday at 4 p.m. over at the Sims House. We're going to move to the second floor. Today we held it on the first floor. There's no air conditioning, so I'm going to move to the second floor if it continues to have this heat. We thought it'd be good to try to replicate what it was like to live in that house 200 years ago with no heat. So. And last, I just want to let folks know that this coming Saturday from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the library is our third annual Arts and Crafts Festival. Pending any questions, that's all I have.
Great. So, anybody have questions?
I'd just like to reiterate, and I want to give kudos to the police. I visited both Morton Park and Fresh Pond. Fresh Pond, I only went there on Sunday. Apparently on Saturday, there was a lot of loud music on Saturday. But when I was there on Sunday, the beach was very clean. The lifeguards were very happy. And I actually met the chief there, and we talked to some residents. And they talked about Saturday. There was some issues. But Sunday, it was perfect. And so the chief let them know if there's issues like that, just call the police, and they'll come down and they'll take care of it. At Morton Park, I was there both Saturday and Sunday, and I talked to the staff, and they said the police were coming in and out. I know on Sunday there was a detail on the beach as well as sitting near the entrance. On Sunday when I got there, the beach was closed. So, so they appreciated the road was closed to the beachgoers, and they really appreciated the police presence. So, So they did a great job on that.
Thank you. I'll pass that along.
Great, thank you. So next, we have Select Board open session, new business letters, old business. I have a letter that was drafted today that we are sending to the Attorney General, and I'd just like to read it into the record so folks know what we're doing. And this is the opposition to discharge of radioactive water from Pilgrim Nuclear Power Station. And the letter states, Attorney General Healy, the Town of Plymouth Select Board has been informed of recent reports about Holtec International's plan to remove water from the spent fuel pool and discharge the radioactive water into Cape Cod Bay. The Town of Plymouth Select Board voted on July 26, 2022, to oppose plans to discharge radioactive water from the Pilgrim Nuclear Power Plant Station's reactor vessel and spent fuel pool into Cape Cod Bay. Discharging the contaminated water is not the only option available to Holtec. Instead of releasing the water into the bay, the company has other alternative actions to take that include trucking the water to another location. The Select Board in the Town of Plymouth is deeply concerned about the potential adverse impacts of any discharge of radioactive water would have on the region's public health, the environment, and the local economy. We therefore state our strong opposition to any plans to discharge water containing radiation or other contaminants in Cape Cod Bay. And Anthony, if you could post this on the town website, please. Thank you. Sure.
Sorry, but you triggered my memory on another bill that I believe was Representative Josh Cutler out of Pembroke that filed just recently with regard to that issue. And we've all signed on to it, trying to put a moratorium to stop the water from being discharged and kind of give us time to think about it, see what more we can do. Not sure where it was just filed, so not sure where that's going to go, but at least it's been filed, and that'll be another update that we can give you.
Excellent.
Question, Matt. I was under the impression that that was part of the economic development bill. It was not?
No, this is a separate bill.
Oh, okay. I thought they were putting the moratorium in with that.
They may have, but this was a separate request that we asked for.
Okay, all right.
And by the way, I believe that if it is in there as well, I believe that economic bill will come out at some point without bonding stuff, so that'll probably come out there too. But it doesn't mean that will go through, so we're trying every angle we can.
Great. Does anybody else have any new business, old business, letters?
New business.
Sure.
Derek, I got some calls from, the president of the White House Beach Association down by the Full Sail, and he had a question about the ramp, the boat ramp right next to the Full Sail. I guess it's really sinking, and it's become a real safety issue now, not just for the people trying to get boats down there. He said they were all getting stuck, but for the folks that walk down that ramp, that sand ramp. So I talked to JB, I mentioned it to you today, and he seems to know how to fix this problem. So if you could just talk with him and see if something can be done about that before somebody gets hurt down there.
Sure. Happy to follow up. I'll
Yeah,
connect
thank
with
you.
the director tomorrow morning.
One of the things that made that ramp stable was they used to put crushed stone as the base coat and then put sand on top. The last hurricane where we lost the ramp, we lost everything, and then they were only filling it in with sand. The problem is it's only being filled in with sand, so we need that base coat back there. And I know I've talked to JB about it a few times, and hopefully it'll change now. So, anybody else, new business? I have some new business. We could put on the agenda the White Horse Beach ticket prices for parking tickets. Speaking to some of the officers, we're getting a lot of people that don't have stickers, and there's 4 or 5 people in a vehicle, it's $50. Just ticket me, I'll pay $10. So I think it's time that we, that's not helping. So we can make it an agenda item and discuss raising the White Horse Beach ticket prices. And also, the town lot, we have a town lot that sits on Taylor Ave, and it's right beside my parents' old store, so, and for some reason, they're not ticketing in there, and you have to have a beach sticker. Guest passes are not allowed in there. So, but a lot of people with guest passes are going in there. So if we could address that as well.
Yeah, we can follow with Pilgrim on that one.
Just one suggestion, talk to the PGDC about how much you can charge for a ticket. I know there's laws about how much you can charge with penalty, so I would just check that first.
Well, the good thing is that we actually made White Horse Beach its own parking district, town meeting did. So we have a little bit more leniency.
Yeah, no, I think it might be a state law.
Okay.
So I would just check that, so.
Derek, if you could find that out. And come back with a recommendation.
Sure.
Up to $200, that's what you have to pay if you park in a handicap spot, so somewhere, in that vicinity.
We can do that.
Anyone else? New business, old business, letters? No? Okay, we'll move on to license and administrative notes. The first is a group of licenses. If anyone has an issue or a question about them, I would seek a motion to move them as a group.
I just have a question on Roll Street Tavern.
Okay.
And my question is, and I don't know if Derek knows this, but they're relinquishing their alcohol license, all alcohol. Are they closing the restaurant, or they're just not going to serve alcohol?
It's closed.
Oh, okay, it is. I didn't know that. Okay,
Right.
that's too bad.
So, do we have a motion?
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. Administrative notes. Seeking the same, move as a group unless there's questions?
I'll abstain from number 1.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
All right.
With one abstention.
On one.
Yep. Okay, motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
Thank you, everyone, and we'll see you in a couple weeks. Our next meeting will be full remote.